You haven't made a sound all morning, and just as I start to film, you decide to sing the song of your people. What do you have to say for yourself? Hey guys, this is Eliza and welcome back to a new video. So today is my January 2023 setup. I'm really excited for this one. I went with a pond theme. We have a visitor. I went for a pond theme, so I drew some koi fish, I drew some lilies, as well as some like lily pads and stuff. And I'm really freaking happy with how this turned out. I've like done this by the time I'm filming this intro, but I'm so freaking happy with it. So without further ado, let's just jump straight into my January 2023 digital bullet journal setup. Hey guys, welcome to the voiceover. I've started this 3 times now because I cannot get my mouth to create the words that are coming out through my head. So hopefully we get through with this one. So I'm actually sketching for the first time. I'm pretty sure this is the first time I've actually sketched out an idea before I got into doing the line work. Usually I just fucking go for it. But I wanted to sketch it out and get the shape and everything right before I did that. So look at me go. So for the sketching, I used the 6B pencil on Procreate. For all the line work, I use the monoline brush. Well, it's kind of the monoline brush, like I've edited it a little bit for my needs. I have a couple of them. I have one that I use for writing, one that's thicker that I can use for bigger stuff, and then one that's got like a bit of a taper to it. I'll alternate between most of those. I don't think I use the taper one in this, but most of those I'll alternate between. And for the details on the fins, I'm using the ink bleed brush from the inking section. I just thought it gave a nice effect. So partway through colouring this in, you will notice I realised I forgot the 2 little fins that go down near the tail, but I do add them, don't stress. But yes, I went with the typical orange, and I used actually a really dark brown instead of the black, just so it had like a little bit of a distinction away from the black lines. But yeah, I used the typical colour palette and drew this koi fish, and yeah, I'm really proud of myself that I actually used the sketching idea first, because yeah, I don't usually do that. I usually just fucking wing it. So for January 2023, I wanted to go a little bit out of my comfort zone and actually do something different, and that's why I went with this pond one. I tend to gravitate towards themes that are related to books, that are related to plants, or like mountains and like backgrounds and stuff. And like if you've seen my 2023 journal setup, like the initial pages, you'll know I did a mountain theme, which is pretty normal for me because I love drawing landscapes on Procreate and I use them as backgrounds for quotes for products in our store. So that's like normal for me. So I wanted to branch out, and I still incorporated a little bit of the leaf idea, as you can see me starting to draw the shape of it right now. But I wanted to also incorporate the fish and the lily, which is something that I don't usually draw. Like I don't draw flowers ever, but I did for this. And you'd see I actually use the sketching technique for the flowers as well, just to kind of make the circles to get them, the petals kind of in the right shape. Like this first row I kind of do exactly, and then I kind of branch out from there, but the circles kind of give me something to work with when I'm doing the shapes. And I was trying to do it one way and then decided I didn't like that, so changed my mind, which, because this is digital bullet journaling, that is something I can do. That's something I love about having swapped to digital bullet journaling. If you haven't seen my video on me talking about why I swapped to digital bullet journaling, it's linked down below, so go and check that out. But I love the fact that nothing's permanent. I can change it, I can mess up, it doesn't matter. And I'm like a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to my bullet journal, and I find if I've made like too many mistakes or I'm not happy with the spreads, I just won't use them, which is a bit of a waste. So doing it this way, I'm still doing that, but I'm actually able to, if I don't like something, fix it. And like with my yearly spreads, if I get sick of looking at the mountains theme that I did like 3/4 of the way through the year or halfway through the year, I can literally just go in and change the backgrounds. Like the actual things, like the trackers and everything can stay the same, but I can go in and change the backgrounds if I want, and change the theme to whatever I want if I'm feeling like doing that. So I love that aspect of digital bullet journaling. So for most of my text, I do use Canva. So I use different fonts on Canva. I basically just go over, write out what I want. I have 2 main fonts that I use in these spreads. We have the cursive that I use for the headers, and then the more like standard font that I use for like little things, which you'll see me use later on. But the cursive is the font called the something script. That's literally the name of it on Canva. And I really like it. I'm not a huge into hand lettering, which is why I use the fonts, because I said I'm a bit of a perfectionist and I don't have the skill set to do that type of font, but I want that type of font, so I just use Canva. And obviously for like the normal fonts, which you'll see later in spreads, I'm a little bit more basic in that. Like I just use the, I don't even know how to pronounce it. It's Neue, the new Montreal font, which is just like a basic font, just to fill in things. Like in my habit trackers, I filled in what habits I was tracking, so I didn't have to handwrite them. If I'm doing dates or that, like a list of dates, I will use it. But if I'm doing calendars, which you'll see in the habit trackers, I actually use Canva for that as well. So I like incorporating Canva into my Procreate stuff to make my life a little bit easier. So now I'm just adding some details around, so it kind of looks like, you know, the things that are going through the water are sitting on the water and making, you know, ripples in the water. I thought that was just like a cute little detail to make it look a bit more seamless. And then I'm adding these little light blue bubbles all around, which took way too fucking long, but the effect is good. But yeah, I just thought I'd add, again, something extra to it. And I just added them all throughout and around the words as well, which I didn't add any of the ripples around the words. I just added that around the extra stuff. But I thought I'd put some bubbles around the January bit. And then I realized the whole thing was off center, so I fixed that. It's fine. Then to kind of finish off the design, I guess, I added these big bubbles in the corner, and I actually consistently added this across all the spreads, which I thought just, kind of finalized it a little bit, made it that little bit more full, if that makes any sense. So moving on to my next spread, we have, I'm actually using the drawing guides, but we have my habit tracker. So first what I did was pulled across the fish, the lily, and the lily pads over to this spread, and then I just hid them there in the background. I'll use them in a minute. But that way I don't have to redraw the whole thing. So I'm doing my tracker. I grabbed a calendar off Canva, and then I alpha locked it, turned it to the color I wanted it, and then used the distort feature to make it fit in the lines and spaces that I needed it. That way I don't have to write all those numbers or type out all those numbers on Canva. I've just, pulled a calendar from a random template and chucked it in. So I've copied that for my 6 habits that I want to track. Then I decided I needed to put a background color in. And because I've got a pale blue background, it was really hard to see the white. So what I did was color in black and then just change the color afterwards, which I do that a lot. And then now I'm unhiding all those little elements and just like spreading them throughout to kind of make it look cohesive with the first page, obviously, and add my koi fish and stuff in. And I've also added a little bit of a drop shadow, I guess you could call it, to the habit tracker boxes. I don't know if you can tell, but I just put a bit of a line at the bottom that's a bit darker just to make it kind of look like a shadow. So I pulled in the habits that I am tracking, and this is where I chose that font, the new, whatever you want to call it, Montreal font that I used, and then just moved them around and fitted them to each of the habits tracker little box things. What is words? I don't know. This one, as the month goes along, I will just colour in the square for the corresponding day if I've completed that habit. Now, moving on to my sleep tracker, and this one I decided to go for a little bit of a different viewpoint of the pond. We're doing an underwater view of the pond. So for this one, I just drew some brown dirt down the bottom and then drew the stems and drew just like a lily pad looking at it kind of side on. Like, it's not dead side on because you want to be able to tell that it's a lily pad. So I made it like a little bit side on, but you get the idea. And then I just drew 2 leaves on this one. And then the next one that I draw, I actually put a opening lily on it. Like, it's not a full open lily. It's like in the process of opening, but I thought that would be a bit more effective and also easier. And then I added some leaves down the bottom just to kind of make it blend in with the actual ground so it looks like ground. And I'm kind of looking at it now. I want to add some extra stuff to the bottom, like add some extra leaves and stuff to kind of fill out that bottom section where the dirt meets the water. But I can do that later on. That's fine. So here I am adding the second one. I put it right over to this edge. That way I could have my sleep tracker in the middle there. And I did two little lily pads. What's it called? Yeah, lily pads. That's what I'm looking for. And then here is my little flower. So like I said, I just kind of did an open flower. And this was a little bit of a struggle, but we got there in the end. And then I was indecisive about whether I wanted these bits to join. And I ended up making them join. It's fine. It looks fine, but I was indecisive as to whether I wanted those leaves to actually join in or just have a border around them. We got there in the end. I painted that one pink and then drew my second lily pad. And then I just pulled my sleep tracker in. So this is the one that I made a couple months back for, I think it was my October spread. I just pulled in the same sleep tracker. I find it effective, so I used it. Oh, actually, first, what I did was I duplicated that blue layer and put it over the top with a transparency on it, so that way it looked like the bottom of the lily pads were actually underwater. And then I just erased the black lines at the top, so it made it look like those lily pads were above the water, but the rest of it was below the water. So then I pulled in the sleep tracker. Get it in the right order, Eliza. We'll be fine. I alpha locked it, made a different color to match the current theme because I thought the black was a little bit too harsh. Colored in the background white just so it was like easier to differentiate what's been colored and what hasn't been colored, because I will be coloring this guys in, I haven't decided whether I'm going to do a blue or the pink of the lilies, but I'll see what looks best and figure that out later. But yeah, I wanted it to be able to like differentiate between the two easier, so I put it as a white background. Then I realized I forgot the bubbles on the habit tracker, so I went back and did the bubbles on the habit tracker. And then I come back to the sleep tracker and did the bubbles on the sleep tracker. I just thought the big bubbles in the corner would like tie everything together well. So now we are on to my reading tracker. So this one is basically, I copy and pasted the lily pad 31 times. 31? Yes, for January. And I will colour them in a certain shade of green depending on how many pages I read in a day, which you'll see me set up my my key down the bottom soon. But so for the lightest green is like 1 to 50 pages, and then 51 to 100 pages, 101 to 150 pages, etc, etc. And if you've seen my 2023 setup, you'll know that I wanted to make it a bit cohesive, and here's me drawing out numbers quickly to make sure I have the right amount. But I wanted to make it cohesive with the key, so every reading tracker that I do throughout the year will have the key of 8 different subjects, like set, how do I say it, like the 0 to, or the 1 to 50, the 51 to 100, like they'll all have 8 different colors, so that way it's cohesive with my original tracker. Like obviously the color I use will be different because my original tracker is like a blue theme, and this one I'm using green for the lily pads, but every time I want it split up into 8 sections, so it's cohesive, and it makes me happy about it. Yeah, so that was my key, and I'm just going to go through and chuck the colours in. I ended up redoing that because the end ones are a bit too close together, but I fixed it up. And just leaving all the lily pads white for now. I'm going to chuck the label in. I also chucked some lilies and some other lily pads in just to bring the theme all in together. And it wasn't just so it was like 31 random circles on a page. It actually looked like it was part of a pond. So I chucked some lilies and stuff in there. And then you added the title, moved the key over because it was annoying me being on the left, and put a title there. And then I ended up putting a couple koi fish underneath. So it makes them look like they're swimming underneath the lily pads, which I ended up using that same method in a couple of them now, where it's like the koi fish is behind the stuff, so it makes it look like it's underneath the water, unlike the lily pads. Now, moving on to my TBR. This one is a pretty basic spread. It's just a box in the middle, so I can list my TBR. Have I actually done that yet? No, I haven't added that information in. But in case you were curious, my TBR for January, which I'll be doing a video about it, is The Book Eaters by Sunyi Dean, All of Us Villains and All of Our Demise by Amanda Foody and Christine Lynn Herman, The Killing Code by Ellie Marnie, The Black House by Carol Johnston, The Drift by CJ Tudor, Clown in the Cornfields No. 2 by Adam Cesara, Babel by R.F. Kwong, and The Final Strife by Sarah L. Arifi. Is that how you pronounce that? I'm not 100% sure. But hopefully I left enough spaces for all of those. Did I? Let me count. How many spaces have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm putting 10 lily pads in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There you go. I have space for one more on my TBR. That was good timing. Well done for me. So yes, what am I doing now? Oh, I'm on the next spread now. So this next spread is my playlist spread. Do I usually do this? No. Am I giving it a go again? Yes. I have done it in the past, and I've some months used it, some months I haven't used it, but I'm going to give it another go. So this time I put a big koi fish behind it, and I've left however many boxes? 7, well, not boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spaces to put in songs that are my current playlist that I'm listening to consistently. I did have the lines in the background, but then I decided to not use them because I wasn't 100% happy with how it was looking, and also it'd be struggle to actually write on them. So I redid that, and then I also made them transparent so you can see a bit more of the koi fish underneath. Whether I'll actually use that spread, I don't know, but we will see. Now moving on to my weeklies. So this one, I did this before I did one of my other spreads. I don't know why I did them out of order, but it's fine. This one, I did another big koi fish and did some more lily pads, and I've left seven lily pads so that way I can have the 7 days of the week. So I chucked weekly down the side. I just did out the Sunday through Saturday words so that I can chuck them at the top of the lily pads. The spreads I was doing in November, December, I wasn't filling up the whole spread. I had a lot of room per day. So I decided to condense the amount of room per day I had in this one. And we'll see how it goes. Obviously, because it's digital, if I don't have enough room, I can just write smaller. I can just zoom in more and write smaller. But we'll see. I'll see how I like that spread. Now I'm doing my actual reading log. So I had my TBR, which I will colour in those lily pads as I finish those books. But I wanted a reading log so that way if a book wasn't included in my TBR, I still have it written down. So this was exactly the same layout that I used to do in my actual bullet journal for my reading logs. I decided to pivot it over. I did debate having spaces for the actual book covers, but I decided against that. I might end up trying that in future months, but for the moment, I'm just going with the list. And I also did pull in a little rating star so I can colour them in as I go. Well, that's my January 2023 digital bullet journal setup. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This time instead of screen recording the time-lapse, the Procreate time-lapse, what I did was actually screen recorded while I was doing it, and I think I prefer this method. I was worried about doing it this way and that I moved the screen around a lot and it would get especially when you spin it up, it'd make you dizzy because I'm spinning it around and stuff, but I just kind of consciously didn't do that as much, and I tried to keep it mostly straight unless except for when I was doing the flower and stuff. But yeah, I think it turned out fine. None of it was too excessively spinning around or anything like that, which is what I was worried about. So I think I will continue to do this method from now on. I hope you guys enjoy it. But let me know what theme you did in January or for your January 2023 bullet journal setup, or if you haven't done it yet, what you're planning on doing. I'm very excited to start filling this in. That is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in my next one.